Welcome back to another episode of Spartan Hoops. I'm your host, David Klein. Today, I am joined by Connor George, our very first guest on the show. Really appreciate him taking the time to be able to do this. Excited to chat with him. How you doing today, Connor?
Good. Thanks for having me, David.
Yeah, absolutely,
doing
man.
excellent. Yeah, excited to be the first guest.
For sure. I'm really happy to do this. I reached out, and I just think that probably you had maybe one of the most interesting stretches in recent Michigan State history. You saw, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. So I think it's going to be a good one today, kind of walk through the whole thing. But to start, you're in the real world now, working for former Spartan Matt Ishbia at United Wholesale Mortgage. How's the real life treating you?
It's weird. A lot of people ask me that question. How different is it coming 5 years from basketball at Michigan State now in the real world? It's an adjustment for sure. A lot different. I've been here for 10 months now, so it's been going well. I'm with the best of the best with Matt Ishbia out here in Troy.
That's pretty cool that you get to work for obviously someone who's been through the program under Izzo. Did you know that this was something that you wanted to go into, or it was kind of one of those things like, I need to get a job, I'm about to graduate, and we'll see where it goes from here?
So what happened was I didn't know what I wanted to do. I talked to coach and I was like, I'm not really sure what I want to do. Yeah. I got my master's in sports leadership and coaching. Didn't want to coach. So he's like, talk to Matt, called Matt, and he was like, are you sure you don't know what you want to do? I was just kind of looking for guidance, and he open arms, was like, hey, we have a rotational program. So that's kind of what I've actually been doing, is a rotational program for a year, which is going to end in 2 months. And then I'm going to get like placed in my career in 2 months here. So it's been different, but I've been going around the whole entire company, which has been really cool.
Okay.
Learned a lot.
It's basically, you're saying a rotation within the company, the various parts, to be able to determine like where the fit is for you.
Exactly. So
where do you think it's heading? Do you know exactly yet?
I have a lot. There's a lot of opportunities, room for growth, and obviously UWM is just growing so fast right now, and there's a lot of new lanes of business that are opening up that are very interesting. I mean, there's marketing, sales, underwriting. I mean, closing, and they have a whole engagement team. I mean, he runs this just like Izzo and like his program back in. Like, he's taking all the ideas that Izzo implemented with him and Izzo taught him, and is taking it into a mortgage world, it's been a lot of fun. And it's very cool to see how he's been able to do it and been as successful as he is going through the MSU, taking those things that he learned at MSU and applying it.
It's nice to have that MSU connection. We always hear that it's a family, and here it is enacted basically, right? You came out, you weren't quite sure what you wanted to do, and here you're provided an opportunity, right? With part of the family, and it's great to see. Absolutely. Mateen's down there as well. Is there any other alumni that's down and part of that?
Yeah, so Antonio Smith used to work there as well. He just got another job out here as well. Helped him out with that. And we got Chris Hill, Charlie Bell, Adam Wolf, and those are kind of the guys. And then we have a lot of managers. We have former managers that are working there too right now. So it's
crazy.
Spartan Green is all over the place in that building. So it's a
good place to be. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, all right. A year removed from college now, single most thing you miss about East Lansing?
About East Lansing?
Yeah.
Now that I'm done, I mean, I can say, the post-game victory, when you knew you had a good game, you knew it was a good win, hanging out with the guys.
The celebration.
The celebration, let the celebration begin. That's what I miss the most, just hanging out with the crew and everyone after games. And
what was the spot for you? What was the spot
for me? I'm shouting out Lou and Harry's, my boy Harry's, Scotty running that place. They were great to us, and still, if I go back to East Lansing, I'm gonna let them know I'm there.
I love it. Yeah, I was a little bit older. I graduated in 2009. It was not a spot. That was just like an eating spot, and I went back to see, like I told you, my kid brother there, and that was the spot he took me to. I'm like, this is crazy. It's bumping. This used to be like a restaurant. We get fries and like a wrap here, and now it's
What, you would go to Harper's? Where were you at? What was your spot?
My spot was always Rick's, that dirty hole in the wall. Take it down the basement. My feet stuck to the ground, but you always know you're in for a good time there. But I liked a little bit of everything. I bounced around for sure.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be able to go back for tailgating. It seems like that's a real possibility. Do you plan to try to return back to campus for any type of tailgating? If so, what's your go-to spot on a tailgating day on a Saturday?
Okay, so tailgating wise, I am going back for sure. I'm going to experience this because we never got to experience it. We would always be, if you're looking for the MSU basketball team, we are going to be on the patio of Breslin, right outside coach's office. So we're always hanging out there. There's recruits. We probably will run an open gym right before, like 4 hours before the game.
So you haven't got the full experience really yet.
No, the only time I got the experience was in high school because I lived so close. I was able to experience tailgating as a high schooler, but no, I never got to experience a real live tailgate.
Well, that'll be exciting. Do you have plans? Like, are you going to go up and do it big, come in early, do some cooking, or how are you going to set it up?
We're going to do it big. I mean, I haven't been able to experience it for the last 5-6 years, so we're gonna do it right. That's I'm kind of hoping for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me know what game you end up deciding to go to. I'll come up and get some drinks for you for sure. I think we all owe you one for sure. So. All right, so part of the reason, like I told you, that I wanted to do it is just you were here originally. You redshirted in 2015-16, then you were there through 2019-20. So like I said, you got to see two of maybe, the greatest scorers that have come through under Izzo in Cassius Winston, obviously Denzel Valentine, the single seasons that they had, Denzel's senior year as well as Cassius's junior year. Just phenomenal just to watch that type of national player of the year type candidate, All-American. That's really exciting. Obviously, some of the lowest of the lows, the MTSU, that's a really, really tough one to swallow, but then the Duke victory. So you got to kind of see just the full course, and I'm excited to kind of get into it. But let's start, from the beginning. In high school, you averaged right around 23 and almost 11. People that didn't know that, you were a bucket back in high school at Okemos. Could have gone D2, D3. You chose to decide to walk on to Michigan State. Take me through the decision to not play at that, but to kind of earn your way on to the program and just go from there. What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, it was a tough decision. Like you said, it was a lot of D2, a lot of D3, and a lot of offers in the D2 area in the GLIAC around the state of Michigan. What was the strongest
consideration for you?
Ooh, I liked Northwood. Love Northwood. Coach Reck was awesome. And then Grand Valley was a huge area for me because I loved Grand Rapids. I love that school. And it was tough to pass up. But at the end of the day, D3, the coach that I had the most respect for and everything is Coach Mitchell over at Hope College. And he almost got me to go there too. Hope is an unreal campus, unreal school, and their basketball program is great. Went to a few games with their Calvin games, and it's just, honestly, the atmosphere there is, to me, I was like, this is, the atmosphere.
Different campus experience if you would have gone that route.
Yeah, it would have been a lot different, but I love Coach Mitchell, and he was he was from East Lansing, coached at Lanesburg for a while, coached at Okemos as well for a little bit in the past. So I knew him pretty well and still have a connection with him to this day. So at the end of the day, sorry. Yeah. So I end up talking to Coach Izzo, and, he kind of told me, this is going to be a preferred walk-on spot. You won't have to do you don't have to try out, do any of that. You just come. But it's going to be a grind. Are you ready for it type of thing? And, we know that you can shoot the ball. You're 175 pounds, not very athletic. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to earn your stripes. And I can't promise you anything. But in my mind, I'm like, I was a competitor. That's what I wanted to do. I grew up in East Lansing, loved green and white, loved going to basketball games, loved going to football games. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm telling myself I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna be able to play. And I've seen some walk-on stories in the past, and, good situations had happened, and I was kind of, banking. I was betting on myself, and I knew I was going to work just as hard as anybody else. So, I did. I bet on myself, and I don't regret it at all because I had the best 5 years of my life there at MSU. So, yeah, that was kind of how it all transpired. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah. So, let's start with the 2015-16 season. So the team starts pretty hot. Wins 16 of 17. I went back and looked at that. I didn't remember that you guys started off so hot, but you won 16 to 17 to start the year. Then there's that 3-game skid that happens in the middle of it. We end up getting just kind of that iconic game in those crazy neons. I got to get your take on the neons because I'm curious, like, what the team thought of them. But those were some of the wild. We got the neons this year, a couple of years back, and those are okay. But like those were neon.
Yep.
So it's Maryland at home. Forbes ends up dropping 25. I didn't remember that either. I remember he had that big game at Michigan where he went unconscious, but this game he was too. And then we get that moment with Costello where he picks up Izzo and twirls him around, and then that season kind of rebounds back from there. Take me kind of just through the ups and downs of what you remember from the season, and what do you think your fondest memory from that year was?
Yeah, I think like the coolest part about, first of all, the neon jerseys. We weren't a huge fan of them at the time. We were like,
when they were rolled out, what did everybody say in the locker room when they were placed out? Were they like, oh?
We were like, damn, these are bright. Like, okay. I mean, you should have seen the socks too. The socks that we were supposed to wear that game actually were football socks.
Oh my God! Like if people were going to be wearing knee highs out there,
knee high socks, like to the kneecap, and like if you extended them all the way up, they would have went that high. But like people were going to roll them down, and we were like, nope, not going to happen. And then we also had we had 2 different pairs, so we wanted to wear the football socks. That was the initially planned, and then we went to I think it was neon socks as well. But yeah, those were crazy uniforms. But that team was awesome. I mean, for me growing up, that was the first year that I've been there, so it was a whole different game. And these guys were so good, and Denzel leading the way, seeing Matt Costello, such a good leader, those two, and then Bryn Forbes is just a sniper. I mean, he was unreal, and we just had a lot of confidence that whole year. And in the off season, the only focus that we had was national championship, and that was our goal. And we did our best. I mean, we did our best that whole year. We competed. We had a great season. We started out with the best record that we've started with, I think, ever. And then we lose 3 games, and those were some crazy times as well. Because for me, that was the first time I was like, okay, we're just gonna win every game for my career. We're never gonna lose. And then we lose 3 in a row. I think Iowa beat us twice, and that was tough because coach wasn't very happy about that one. And we're back to we went from here to the worst in the country real quick in our eyes. We're like, damn, we might be the worst team in the country after those film sessions. But then we rebounded with the big Maryland game. And I guess the coolest thing about the whole year was really I was redshirted that year, so I didn't even have a chance to sub in at the end of games.
Yeah.
So I was taking it all in. I'm like, this group of guys are so good, so talented, just kind of learning how the system works, learning how everyone does their job. I mean, it was a job in college for everybody. They're trying to, get to the next level, and they're taking this very seriously. So that was kind of me learning. That was the best thing for me personally was just learning how we do things and how we operate at state. And yeah, the games were cool. I loved going to Michigan and, doing, we had that game won in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Awesome. I mean, that was awesome. So just taking back through some of kind of the highs and the lows of the season. So Valentine ends up having a 19.2 points per game, 7.5 rebounds per game, 7.8 assists per game. He wins, the AP Player of the Year. Was that? I mean, we're going to get into it a little bit later, I suppose, but was that the best individual single season performance you think that you saw during your tenure, or are you going to reserve that for Cash's junior year? How do you feel about that one way or the other?
Okay, I think that
that's tough. I don't want to blow my cover here. A couple times today.
I'm gonna say like Denzel was just just so you wouldn't expect it, right? I mean, you've seen him develop over the years. It's fresh. He's just gotten better every single year, and then going into senior year, he's getting the recognition, he's getting the love, and you watch him in practices. You're like, this guy, we can rely on this guy no matter what to get an assist, to make a big play. And for him to almost average a triple-double was pretty unreal to watch. I mean, this kid was getting, so many rebounds and so many assists and just so smart and would always, play the course. And I trusted that we were going to get a bucket every possession with him. So, yeah.
So Bryn Forbes drops 29 in the game that we talked about at Michigan. He went 8 for 10 from beyond the arc. You've played with a lot of good shooters over the years. Valentine, Forbes, Bridges, Langford, Winston, McQuaid. Is Forbes the purest jump shooter from beyond the arc that you have ever played with or seen live?
No doubt about it. And that's kind of the rest of my career. I mean, when we're talking about shooters, we're talking about Bryn Forbes, and that's kind of the person that we look up to, and that we're trying to kind of emulate. We try and work as hard as Bryn, because that guy's he can't shoot because his fingers are all bloody and wrapped up. And I mean, he's splitting his finger every 3 days because he's in the gym like for hours and hours, and just like, it was a perfect shot, and I thought it was going in every time he shot it. And I'm honestly not surprised with what he's doing right now. Maybe a lot of people didn't think that was going to happen, and I didn't know it was going to happen like this. For him to take off and be have a starting role, and playing a lot of big minutes, in the NBA playoffs with Milwaukee Bucks. But I don't think he's missing whenever he shoots. He's the best shooter I've ever seen, hands down.
I think part of him transitioning, it was Cleveland State, right? I believe that was what it was. He transitions into the program, and my initial impression was just physically, is he going to be able to play in the Big Ten? Because he was extremely slight. I think defensively, he was a bit of a liability. And as he developed over the couple years that he played, he really kind of shored up some of the weaknesses in his game.
Yeah.
Do you think that is partially as a result of his mental approach, as well as the program providing the foundation for him to be able to cheat? Like, how do you see that when you see guys reaching the levels that he is, playing at the NBA level in the playoffs at the high level next to, Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Yeah.
How do you think that it comes about? Obviously, it's both player and program, but how did that come to be? If you had a
I do. I can compare him a lot to Xavier Tillman in a way that what you're asking for, they're going to work their absolute hardest to get done. So you can go to a program, and I think if you go to MSU and you listen to the coaches, you do all this, it is set up for you. Like, we are going to get you to the level that you want to be at if you're willing to put in the time and effort, watch the film, work hard in the weight room, and do all that. I think Bryn did that to a T, and we told him, he's he got the word soft thrown around a lot at him. You're soft, you're not strong enough. The guy gained a lot of muscle in his senior year, and he was a lot stronger, quicker. Watched more film than anybody on our team my senior year. No doubt about that. And, he's listening to the coaches. They're saying defensively, you're not as good. So you're going to have to watch more film and be exactly where you need to be. And you watched it. He's always in his gaps. He's always, he's talking. He began to talk like a lot more. He was more of a reserved guy on the court. And you hear him like, hey, I'm left. You could hear him. And he did everything that Coach Izzo asked him to do. And I think that's really what, is good about Bryn and what gets him to the next level. I'm sure right now, you got coaches at the NBA level and people working with him, telling him what to do. And he's going out there and he's doing that, and he's working on it. So that's what I like.
So the framework is essentially provided by the program, but it's how much the player wants to put into it, like it is in basically any aspect of life. If you put in the work, here's the framework to do it. We can tell you how to get there, but you got to be the one to put it in.
You have to work, and then you have to trust. And I think that's another big thing. It's do you trust them? It might take a little while, but if you trust them and you do what you're being told to do, you're going to be set up for success. Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I'm going to get to that a little bit later for sure on it. But so you guys end up winning 13 of the last 14 games to close the season, win the Big Ten tourney. I thought you guys got shafted. I thought you should have been a 1 seed for sure. This has happened so many times. I think if there's any point to why the committee should not make that decision on Sunday, or the Big Ten tournament should be moved back to Saturday, is exactly that, because it's clear to me that the committee doesn't take into consideration the results of that. Otherwise, I think you guys should have been a 1 seed. You end up getting MTSU, they come out and it's just blazing hot. It's a tough thing to talk about. I don't want to harp on it too much, but just what was that feeling when you're coming into the tournament? You're almost feeling like borderline invincible. I really thought that this team had the goods to potentially get it done. And it's not saying that they didn't. You guys had a lot of what you needed to be able to put it together, particularly in the backcourt. But it was a situation where you come out, you get punched in the mouth, you go down, and it was just trying to play catch up, and it just never really happened. You played an extremely hot team. What's the feel with that? How do guys look back at that? And obviously you got to continue to play, but for some people, Matt Costello, Valentine, Forbes, that ended their career. And it's unfortunate because to a certain degree, part of the legacy is a little bit tied into that. And I think it's unfair from the fan base perspective, but it's also, human nature. So what was that like? And just maybe speak to that a little bit.
So I agree. I think that we definitely should have been the 1 seed, and the tournament is a bit really doesn't mean that much in terms of seeding. But we ended up getting the 2 seed. We weren't mad about it or anything. I mean, Coach might have been. He might have been talking to some people afterwards, but we got our seeding and we just went on. We moved on. We were like, we're 2 seed. We got MTSU. Let's win this thing. That was kind of our mindset. And when it is a lot of your best players, your main core of players starting and playing the majority of the minutes, and we get punched in the mouth like that, from my perspective, I thought, we're down by 15 in the first 3 minutes and these guys aren't missing a shot. It puts a lot of pressure on every single shot from here on out because, like you said, we are playing catch up. And now every single basket is so valuable. So it's like you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and maybe you're the best player on the team, or you're the sharpshooter, Bryn Forbes, or you're Denzel, and you have this recognition, and you're like, I have to do something, because we can't get beat by these guys, and so you're taking tough shots.
Out of character a little bit.
Exactly. I mean, it gets to your head. You think about it. I mean, you can see the scoreboard, and as the game's going down and then it's getting closer to the end of the game, you're like, we need to do something right now or else this is over, so it does play in your head, which is tough, and it's happened before in March Madness, and I'm sure that's not going to be, well, it wasn't the last time that it's happened. It was unfortunate, and that was the worst, lowest feeling that that I've had in a locker room.
After I have to imagine that you could hear a pin drop in that thing.
Oh, no,
guys, were they even crying right away?
Yeah,
I would assume that they were just like so shocked that it came later.
Yeah, it was more of everyone's just kind of looking around and like slumped in their chairs, just kind of looking at the ground. Like sometimes you'd make eye contact with someone and you just like look at them and you're just like shaking your head and you're like, no way. And you're talking without saying anything, and you know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. But worst locker room I've ever experienced, and it was too bad because those guys had such a great career, and they did go to a Final Four the year before, but they would have liked to capped it off in a national championship, and we all do. We wish we could get it back, but you can't. I mean, MTSU they shot it. You got to do well. It's not like we were letting them shoot threes. I mean, they were taking shots and making them. And I mean, they scored 90 some points. I don't care if you're guarding well or not. I mean, that's tough to do in any situation. But
they went out and backed it up. I think the next year they won a game or two, right? They beat Minnesota the next year. So it wasn't.
They were favorites. They were the 12 seed, but everyone was like, "Oh, they're gonna win." Like they're gonna win a few games because they're MTSU. They're still good. So yeah.
Quick question from just that team generally. Deontay Davis, if he stays another year in college, do you think he is still playing in the NBA today? I know that's a tough question. I don't mean to put you on the spot with a former teammate, but
that's my boy, Didi. That was my roommate actually freshman year. So
was he really?
Yeah, he was my roommate. We were living at North Wonders. Shout out to North Wonder days.
Yeah, I was a Case Hall kid. So
okay, yeah, right next door then.
Yeah.
It's tough to say. I think could he be still in the league if he stayed for one more year?
Yeah,
possibly. I probably would say yeah. I think he would have a better chance.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I also think it's a tough situation for him to be in. And when you're young and you're projected lottery and you're supposed to be making millions and millions of dollars and you're trying to support your family, it's a tough decision to make. And sometimes it goes one way, sometimes goes another. You just kind of, for Didi, he was ready to go, and it was time for Didi. I wish we could have had him back for another year though, and I wish for the sake of his NBA experience he would have stayed another year. Yeah.
I just think maybe maturation wise he wasn't quite where he needed to be, not only physically, but I just think generally to come into that professional world where it's eat or be eaten. I think we've seen that in a lot of regard, and you have to mentally be ready to take a job from another man who's out there trying to put food on the table for his family too. So, it's cutthroat. I really wish it would have worked out better for him too, because I just think his upside was super, super exciting. But I just was curious, generally. I didn't know you roomed with him. So So next season, 2016-17. A ton of leadership walks out the door. It's one of the most exciting recruiting classes, in recent memory for Coach Izzo since maybe the early 2000s. There's not a ton of veteran depth. There's a point in the season where the tournament streak is getting a little bit scary. We weren't sure if it was going to go through or not. You guys end up making enough to hit a 9 seed. You beat Miami, who's the 8 seed, and then you end up losing to Kansas. Obviously with Jaren Jackson, and possibly would have been part of that class, which would have been really exciting, but he goes another route. Just a couple questions from that year in general. Obviously it was kind of a growth year. You're getting to see some extremely talented young players. Obviously now with Miles Bridges' explosion this year, just tell me a little bit about what it was like to watch just like maybe one of the most freak athletes that's ever come through the program just on a daily basis in practice, and the ease with which he can dunk. Like, what was that experience like just sitting on and getting to watch the Miles Bridges show almost every day?
So, I mean, I'll start that off with like the first time that I saw him. Like, well, I mean, we'd play open gyms and stuff like that when he was getting recruited and stuff. But first day of practice, it was actually during summer camp. And all the kids are there, everyone's doing that. And we kind of get a practice during camp or hours, practice hours or something like that. So we're practicing, and I'd seen videos, but who hasn't seen a video of a kid dunk before? Right. So, everyone can dunk. Everyone posts videos nowadays of them dunking, and it's like, okay, yeah, but he can't do that like that. And so Miles we're doing layups, and I'm just watching, and, we see Miles go up and he's like doing windmills and stuff. And I'm like, huh? Because I thought we were freakish athletic the previous year. And now we got Miles coming in doing this and going through the legs like easy. And I'm just like, and all these kids are loving it. And that was like the first 5 minutes that I seen him like actually on the same team as Miles in practice. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I was like, this guy is crazy, and it was crazy every single day. I mean, we stopped open gyms because of how this guy just dunks on people. I mean, like, we legitimately he has dunked on people so bad that we.
Who was the worst person that got dunked on? Do you have a specific moment that you recall where somebody just got like destroyed? It was like end of practice, like everyone took their shoes off, they walked up the court.
Oh, he's done it to multiple people. I mean, he's done it to probably. I mean, everyone's gotten a little bit of, Miles Bridge, like posterized, like dunk on to finish practice. I mean, it happened very often. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. And he was so young, and you wouldn't know it. I think that's the coolest thing about Miles is that, when you get in the locker room or just hanging out with the guy, I mean, he's the most humble guy that you wouldn't know that he's like that on the basketball court, honestly, if you never watched basketball. He's just a cool, down to earth, nice to everybody. Go out of his way to say hi or sign a photo for a kid and do all that. So that was really cool. I mean, I still stay in touch with Miles to this day, which is cool. That's just the kind of guy he is. I'm sure he stays in touch with everybody. But it's not like that with everybody. And you wish it was, but it's not realistically. So
Yeah.
it's cool. He's a phenomenal athlete, and it's cool to watch him now.
God-given natural athleticism is unbelievable, as good as maybe anybody we've seen since like a Jason Richardson, Shannon Brown type.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say besides obviously that propelled him to the success that we saw this season? It was really a breakout season for him. To me, he's about to get paid just like Bryn Forbes. They're both coming close to coming up on contract. And I think both of them are going to cash in, which I'm so happy to see. What do you think just being around him, you would say propelled him to his current level of success?
Yeah, I think it stems a little off the court, just like I was talking about. I mean, he's so nice and he's easy to get along with. Everyone likes Miles, and everyone's rooting for Miles, and everyone sees that, and I think that goes a long way. And obviously, the hard work that he puts into his shot he's always had a shot. I mean, we trusted him to shoot the ball in college, but I mean, to be able to knock that down consistently in the NBA every single night, might not have been something that he was ready to do right when he left. And he's worked on his game. He's gotten his handles down, and he's able to.
Way tighter this season. Just the ability to get from the perimeter all the way to the rim, and he always had the finishing ability. So.
Yeah. So I think all that ties into it, and is the reason why you said. I mean, he's about to collect a paycheck.
I'm excited to see what the future holds with him and LaMelo, because he needed a true point guard to be able to spring him into some easy looks, and having that lob right between the two of them. I mean, those two are going to be so exciting to watch down the years. So it's going to be fun as a Michigan State fan just to watch him continue to grow.
Oh yeah, couldn't agree more.
So Izzo was famously quoted when he saw Cash play at UD that the ability to pass was maybe as good as anybody that he's seen since Magic Johnson. He then, is somewhat prophetic in that, where he backs it up. He breaks the all Big Ten assist record. What was it like playing with him? And did you know like early on? Because I think we saw flashes, but I'm not sure if I ever thought that he was going to get to the level that he did in college. And just talk a little bit about the type of guy he is and what you saw from him early on and what he became.
Yeah, I think that, we didn't know. No one knew. We weren't, that was a quote that Izzo used, and, he said it in a lot of film sessions too. And he's like, you're the best passer I've ever had. And he would say like, I've seen great passers here at MSU, and you are the smartest guy with the basketball, and you make the right reads. And this is, before freshman year even started. And we're like, okay, we see it, because Cash is really smooth with it. Like he was good. You could tell he was good, and he was going to be ready to play and play significant minutes as a freshman. And you were excited to see him grow. And with the class, though, that he came in, it wasn't like he was the focal point right away. So we weren't able to see him really take over a team, which I think he was ready for. I just think that he wasn't that guy on the team yet. We had a guy like Miles Bridges who came in right away, and was that guy for us. He was supposed to. He wasn't. He was that guy for us. And then we have Josh Langford, who's coming in, and who's one of the best players in the country as a freshman. And Nick Ward, he just wasn't in that position as a freshman. But I think he could have done it, honestly. Like, I really do. I think he could have, at least as a sophomore, give him a year to develop a little bit. And as a sophomore, he could have taken on that team and ran it himself. But
do you think some of that was personality-wise? He just wasn't a guy to step forward and be vocal about wanting to do that? Or do you think it's more just that was how the role kind of broke down, and everybody kind of knew that, Miles gave us an extra year and it's his season this next year, and it was almost kind of a deferment on the basis that he came back when nobody thought he was going to?
That was a big thing too. I think that was a lot of it was Miles coming back, and it's his time. He's going to bring us to the Natty, and it's his year to bring us to a national championship, and everyone's going to play their role, play their part in doing that for the team and for Miles, because we did have a we were very grateful that he came back, and we were ready. We were excited, and a lot of expectations on that year as well. And I think that Cassius just, is a great kid. I mean, Miles and him are best friends. They played together growing up for their whole lives. And Cassius did well his whole career, and he was good. He had a good sophomore year, and you could see him developing right before everyone's eyes. No one really knew exactly what he was really going to turn into yet, but it was definitely cool to see. Yeah.
That class, obviously, Xavier Tillman and Jaren Jackson come in. What a good start to the season. I was actually at that Maryland game where I want to say it was 2 top 10 teams. I can't remember exactly, but you blew out Maryland. I don't know if you remember that, but it was like, I think it was over in maybe the first 10 minutes of the game. And I remember turning to somebody and saying, this is the most talented team I think Izzo's had in a long time. Obviously the OTL report comes out, some of the worst journalism that I've ever seen. It's just unbelievable what happened with that process. And I think it really took a little bit of the wind out of the sails for that team. It seemed to me like you guys could never really put it together after that. I think that there was a lot of pressure, both externally and just, around the program. It's tough. Izzo kept the locker room open, which I was pretty impressed with. The fact that guys are getting drilled on questions for this. Cash and some of these guys are answering very serious questions as, young adults. Yeah. And just tell me a little bit about kind of how that impacted the general feel of the locker room. And do you think, in your opinion, that year would have gone a little different had that not come down and kind of just put so much pressure on that team?
Yeah, I do. It was a tough year in terms of all that going on, and it was a distraction for sure. I think that if it didn't happen, there would be a lot of people that, we wouldn't be talking about how bad of an ending that we had. I think that we would have been in a different situation, and it was tough. Like you said, we're getting drilled with questions and going into games and, listening to fans, spit out nonsense and, we're worrying about reporters from ESPN coming into the locker room and
chasing Izzo down.
Chasing Izzo down and things. But, it's tough too, because I think it killed Izzo more than anyone. And I think that this took a serious toll on him, and he talks about it, and he wasn't as he'll admit it, he wasn't as focused on coaching because he had so many other things to worry about. And it's tough. It was tough on him, and it was tough on us because we saw it be tough on him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When we went out and played, when we're warming up, we were focused every single game. I mean, we kind of, you could feel a little bit of something like weird going on in the crowd, or like someone saying something or something, but we were really focused on every single game. I think it affected
preparation, the practice, some of that.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's where it came into play. And, if that never happened, which, it's an unfortunate situation, but things could have turned out differently. I agree for sure.
That Syracuse loss, obviously that one stings, just couldn't hit a 3. What's it like to play in like a bigger NBA arena, or some of the stadiums that you guys have gotten to play in, making runs to the Final Four, that type of thing? From a shooter's perspective, is it that much more difficult with the space? How does it feel out there with a little bit more open? Is the backdrop different? Because there's always talk about that, when we come down to Final Fours and you see bad shooting performances, they're like, well, maybe it's the arena. Do you think that that's a realistic, argument to be made? Or do you think that it wasn't really that situation, just was a off night for you guys, couldn't hit a shot, it was what it was?
Yeah, I think that we practice enough, I think, in the gyms before the game start, to where I didn't want to use that one as an excuse, to be fair. We've played in several big gyms. We've played in several. It is different at first, but that's why we go and we have shoot arounds, and we shoot around for 60 minutes before a game, and we were ready, and people, I mean, are making shots, drilling shots in pre-games and in warm-ups and in shoot-arounds. And you know what? It's different for sure, but I think that, you've also seen players get hot in the same gyms. So it's different for everyone, I guess. Everyone has
preparation when you're playing Syracuse, just because it's maybe the most unique looking defense that you can possibly run into, and the length that they provide in a lot of instances it's just really hard to prepare for when you're coming into practice to be able to try to replicate that.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, they were all over 6'6". I mean, they were so long. Their arms were so long. They were very physical and big. They played 6 guys, and they had – now I'm blanking on the guys' names, but I think it was Battle and one other guy, their second guy. They played 42 minutes like 2 nights before that, and they had like 30-something. We knew we were prepared that they were going to, take a lot of their shots. They don't go to the bench. They don't use the bench. They're long. We saw it. We watched the first half of their game after we had won the first round. And we knew what we were getting into, but at the end of the day, we really couldn't hit a shot.
Hit a shot.
Just couldn't hit a shot. It was just –
Would you change anything about that game plan, or do you think it came down to execution in that one?
I know a lot of people like to, it's a very famously
the hot topic.
It's very infamous.
Carter versus
very infamous game, the Ben Carter situation. What people don't know, I don't know if people know that, like, Ben is having a great career overseas. Like, he is killing it right now, and he is a very good player.
Israel, where is he?
Yeah, yep. He's on the national team, and he's one of their top guys. It's getting dark in here. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was going to say, maybe flip on the line. I was going to text you or something.
I was like,
basically just like
1 second. I was like, it is dark.
Oh my God. For the listeners on the podcast, his whole room was going dark. It was just basically talking to a black screen, but it's all good.
Here we go. We're good. All right. What were we talking about, Ben?
Yeah, we're talking about Ben.
He is on the net. He's a very good player, and when he came from UNLV, he was very talented, and unfortunate with injuries.
Yeah.
But we do have Jaren Jackson, who's a freak. And he's 7 feet, and he has 7'4" arms and whatever. But I mean, we practice 2-3 zone throughout the whole year, and this is something that we do throughout the whole entire year. And Jaren was a freshman, and at times during practice, it's turnover in the middle if he was in the zone. I love Jaren. Jaren is my guy. I'm not going to say he shouldn't have been in the game, but I'm saying Ben Carter made a lot of really good plays as well.
Yeah.
And if you watch the film,
the ball moves better with him in the middle. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
We were getting open shots. I mean, what else would you want? I mean, Josh Langford is getting open shots. Cassius is getting open shots. Matt McQuaid is getting open shots. Miles is getting open shots, and it's all coming from the middle. So I didn't think that Ben played poorly at all.
No.
And then obviously we have Xavier Tillman in the game, just getting 20 rebounds and getting us extra shots as well. Do I think that we don't play Jaren the whole entire second half? I probably would have suggested to play him. But I might not have played Ben as much.
Yeah.
But I don't think that – I think people once you catch him, if we win the game, Ben Carter had a hell of a game in the middle. He's finding people. Think if we shoot 35%, 40%, 35%, we win the game easily.
Yeah,
and then
he pulled the right strings. It was the chess move that made the decision to open up the whole zone.
Exactly.
Heavy wears the crown. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's a tough world out there.
Before we transition to the next year, which is obviously it had to be your favorite year. So talk about a little bit about just Jaren Jackson practice, what a unicorn he was. Like, was he some of the most freakish athlete and just all-around basketball player that you've ever seen?
Yeah, I mean, he could shoot it. Different shot than I've ever seen.
Like a knuckleball. I can't believe how much
it is the most
it's different shot. Did anyone ever make fun of him for that jumper?
Oh yeah, we would talk. We're like, how is this going in? Like, why can't I make a shot? My shot is like it looks better than yours, Jaren. But no,
he's just shooting it down. That's why he's shooting it down when he's jumping.
It's like Space Jam. He's like extending his arms over the basket from the 3-point line and just dropping it. But no, Jaren was a great player. Did a lot of like things that you've never seen before. I mean, blocking I think he broke the record of blocks. I think he had the block
season
lead
for Michigan State. I want to say he did
until Xavier. I think Xavier broke that. Or
for the single season, I think Jaren broke it and holds it because I think it was like 106 blocks. It was something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he broke that so early. Like,
I think Tillman holds the all-time block for the program, but I think Jaren has it for the single season.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, he's in practice too. You're just seeing this man dunk and kind of do things that you just wouldn't expect anyone to be able to do. And I kind of knew. Before the first game, this is where we got 1 year. We got 1 year. Miles gifted us a year. He gave us a year back. This is it, right? That's kind of what you're thinking, and you're like, this is the most talented team that has came through in a really long time.
That team was weird to me because I think the starting rotation was so strong, but I think that there was a certain degree where. Yes, Miles had to eventually maybe play on the wing a little bit. Was that talked about before the season started? Because to me, he's always probably better placed as a small ball 4. That's kind of what he's been doing in the NBA. I know that keeping Nick Ward happy, especially the first couple of years, had to be done. But playing the 3 of them together when there was some deficiencies off the bench. There wasn't a scoring punch off the bench.
Yeah.
So to me, I know Nick probably wasn't in the mental space to be able to just accept maybe a bench role, but I would have maybe liked to see Jaren start at that 5. You have Bridges at the 4, maybe McQuaid comes into that starting lineup, and then that second unit has the punch. Because I think, Jaren played 20 minutes and Ward played 20 minutes too, because both of them were always in foul trouble or, Ward's gasping for air, one of the two. Did you think that just the fit maybe wasn't 100% there and it wasn't quite like a balance? I just thought that second unit needed maybe a little bit more scoring punch than what it had, and I wasn't quite sure. I don't know. That was just a tough all-around spot.
Yeah, it was, and coming from me, I mean, I see more. I feel like I see things during a game more than others. I'm right next to OG on the bench every game, and we're just talking, and it was different at times, but it looked really good at times as well. I would have liked to see Miles a little bit at the 4, but he also wanted to develop as a 3, and we thought he could. I mean, think about what 3 is going to be able to guard him. He's 6'7", he's big and strong, and can put it on the floor a little bit, can shoot it. Like, no one's going to be able to guard him. Like, if you want to think about it and you're looking at the paper, you're like, there's no way anyone can guard this kid. But I think that Lane always, people sagged and they played, their
college game is so much more constricted than what you see at the NBA.
Exactly. And there's not enough space for him. There wasn't enough spacing for him. So ultimately he ended up shooting probably a few more threes than what he should have that year. And a couple of tough pull-ups or, just some tough shots that you kind of question and that he can make. But at the end of the day, can we get a better shot? Most likely. So, it would have been different. It would have been interesting to see. I think there could have been a few lineups there that could have worked and possibly could not have.
Yeah. So 3 years running now after the magical, Travis Trice Final Four run, and you guys don't make it out of the first weekend. Coming into that next season, is there any discussion? Is there any type of pressure that you guys felt just like, damn, we can't get out of the first weekend? I think that the tournament and a lot of like the average fan base really bases what a program is on the tournament, which I think to a certain degree is extremely unfair. Because like you see the MTSU game, you run into a hot team, you get axed, and then a really good team that if you played that game 2 or 3 times would beat that team, the majority of them, doesn't end up making a run just because that's the name of the game. It's a single elimination, and that's it. What we saw with UCLA this year, right? They got hot at the right time, they made the run, it was what it was. Yeah. So 3 years running, is there any type of pressure? Is there any talk about like we need to get back, we need to make a run? Or is it more just like we got to go about taking our business like we always do?
I think initially, like right when we lost, I would say that it was pretty much looking around at each other and questioning what do we got next year? We're trying to figure it out. Like that was like take a look in the mirror and see what we got, and you realize who we had just lost. And you're just thinking to yourself like, all right, here we go. Buckle up. Because if we're gonna do anything, we got to start right now. And so we took a look in the mirror, and we got right after it right away. And not sure that we were expecting to be as good as what we ended up to be, which was pretty special because those short couple of weeks after the season were seriously. I mean, we took a good hard look, and we're like, oh man, we might have missed out on our opportunities. I mean, we had the first year and the third year. Great teams didn't make it out of the first round. We're like, we really shot ourselves in the foot. We might have shot ourselves in the foot. We might not get a better chance if you're looking at it roster wise. And the next year was insane.
I might have been one of the few people, but I just, the way that the roster shaped up, I'm like, if this guy takes a step forward, the pieces fit me maybe a little bit better, right? There wasn't as much talent, but I think some of the best teams that Izzo has are teams that come in under the radar, that are not ranked in the top 5. I don't know what the curse of the top 5 ranking is like preseason. I don't want any part of it. I don't want any part of it most years.
Get it out of here.
I don't. I like coming in. Tell me we're in like the 18 to 25 range and nobody thinks we're going to be good. And maybe this season is one of those ones where I'm beginning to feel a little bit like, okay, there's a couple pieces here. Everyone, stomping on the grave after one bad season.
Yep.
So I just had a feeling that maybe if it came together, it would the pieces would just fit. That's ended up what happening. I mean, I don't know if you could have drawn up a better season. Obviously, if you win a national championship, the cherry on the top, I think, the team ran out a little bit of gas, and we'll get to that in a minute. But, you beat Michigan 3 times. You win a Big Ten championship, winning against Michigan at home in the crib. You go and beat Michigan again in the Big Ten tourney. I was at that game in Chicago. It was absolutely fantastic. It was St. Patty's Day weekend, so I was just like deathly hungover in the crowd. I was just like barely hanging on. My anxiety was through the roof. We were down double digits at one point, and I just was like, you know what? We beat them 2 times. This was a really, really good Michigan team because the battles were all top 10 throughout the year. I'm like, if they're going to have one, they're going to have one. We took the regular crown. That's the one that I wanted anyways. Arns goes down, and then McQuaid just goes unconscious for his boy. I mean, that was absurd. So the 3-time beat, and obviously, the run through. I got out of that. I remember getting out of the stadium, just elated about it, and it was right up against, like we did the committee again. Ends up screwing us. They throw Duke in the bracket. You're like, you got to be fucking kidding me. The right of winning the Big Ten and the Big Ten tourney was to throw us in Duke's bracket this year. I mean, I was pissed. I think everybody was to a certain degree. And then we get probably, besides the national championship, maybe one of the most iconic games that Izzo has ever had, with the finish and all the rest of it. So just kind of talk about that season, how that team came together. And was it just a circumstance where the pieces became greater than what they were individually as a sum? I mean, that's kind of what it looked like to me, where just everybody knew the role, and that's why the team was so good.
Yeah. So I'm going to go off of I think the team right away, summer, we had outstanding summer. Like we put in a lot of work. Our practices were looking good, but we were kind of still thinking like, we can't be this good. Like we just lost 2 of our best players. Like, like what's going on? Like, why do we look this good? Like it can't be true. So like, then we go into the regular season and we might have lost some games. I think we won.
It was a couple games early. It was up and down to start.
Yeah. And then I think that was Vegas year, right? We won Vegas. Wait, was that Vegas?
2018, 19. Because was it the PK 80 or was it Vegas?
It was Vegas.
I think you're right.
It was Vegas.
PK 80 was Jaren Jackson. We didn't even talk about that with you. That was one of your best games that you had.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. So it was
Yeah.
Vegas, and we won that, and that's when you start to see Cash and
It was
Josh
the,
really
the comeback against Texas, right?
Texas. Yep.
And
And then we beat
Langford dropped
UCLA.
almost 30, right? It was like
Yep.
29 or something.
Langford went crazy.
Yeah.
And Cassius had an outstanding tournament as well. And I think it comes along with everything that you had said, and then it comes with maturity and age. Because I believe if you are a very good, skilled player, naturally gifted player, and you're a freshman, my thought process has changed 180 degrees since my time in college. I think that the pieces have to fit.
Yeah.
And the pieces fit, and we had the role players that were going to do anything for the team. We had, we always had great chemistry, but that team was very, very close as well. And I just think the experience that we had, we're following, our leaders in Cash and Josh, and now they've been there for 3 years. They know the deal. We have Cueto, we have Kenny, Xavier, who's just, he's way beyond a sophomore at that point. That man is like, he's a dad. I mean, he's not a sophomore. He's
the most mature person on the team.
Yeah, exactly. We look up to Xavier. He's telling us when to go to bed, and he's like, set your alarm for you got class at 7. He's like, y'all got class at 7. Wait, I'm gonna wake you up.
Was he really? Was he texting everybody and getting everyone?
He would sometimes. He'd be like, hey, wake up, man. Like class time. If he was in like the same class as someone, I remember he would do that. He'd be like, let's go. And but no, that guy wasn't a sophomore, and he played a significant role in that, obviously.
That was unexpected though, right? Because we're coming into the season. Obviously, Nick Ward is the starter. I think that he and his relationship with Tom Izzo is, kind of went up and down for a little bit, but I think that they came to an understanding that junior year. I've always said that Izzo rides people because he wants to get the best out of them. And usually it's that first 2 years where he really rides you. And then once you hit that upperclassman, it's kind of, you've earned your stripes to a certain degree. We'll get to a couple of the kids from this year, because I think that they had to put in 3 years of that. But, he ends up fracturing his hand. I think it was right before the Rutgers game. Tillman comes out and has a pretty nice game against Rutgers. And I go, oh, I was a little bit worried about this team. It was, maybe a little bit thin. That was the one concern that I had with it. Tillman pops off. And then we have that, Michigan State game. I think it was at Michigan, the first one, I want to say. And really the offense gets basically completely reinterpreted. It changes almost immediately to a very heavy pick and roll, because Tillman really wasn't ever a back to the basket type player. He's more of a set pick roll. I mean, he does just what he's doing in the NBA, where he's a short roll guy and he kind of catches the ball at the free throw and then makes good decisions for you. How did the evolution of the offense come about? Was it always kind of, that's how it was in practice when Tillman was running with the first unit? Or was it more like Izzo saw that this is where it had to go, and I need to get the ball in my best player's hand, Cash, and I need to get it in the second smartest guy on the floor at the time, which was Tillman?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, Josh goes down as well.
Yeah.
And then Nick gets hurt, and we have Xavier, who's doing anything for the team, grinding, and completely changed his body, and he's now like the strongest guy on our team as well, and just works hard. You trust X, you know what you're getting every time, and I think that's kind of what ended up making the change at the end of the year, is the consistency that you got from Xavier, and I think Iz trusted it, and we had been playing well with Xavier. So Nick gets hurt, and I think Xavier comes in and we win 4 to 5 straight games, or we're playing better. I think it was like 4 to 5 winning streak, maybe more. Yeah. And Nick is now healthy, and he's playing a couple minutes here and there, and Iz is now like, okay, I think Nick's back. Should we start him? And I think at the end of the day, like the decision is, and he had some meetings, and I think it was like, I know what I'm getting out of it.
Tough decision. That's a really tough decision. You have a guy that's been a stalwart, who's been a bucket for you. You somebody you can lean on for the offense. Yeah. But when you have a guy playing that good, and you see what your offense looks like when he's out there, I think they made the right decision. Is evident by how kind of that season played out. How did Nick handle that? Because I think Nick Ward, freshman or sophomore year, would have handled that a lot differently than Nick Ward junior year.
Yeah, Nick grew up a lot, and I think he handled it fairly well. I mean, you can't see. We weren't able to tell if he had a problem. I mean, he might have said a thing or two, like pissed off in the middle of a game, like let's go, like I'm ready, like that's just competitive nature. That's the name of the game. I mean, everyone's gonna do that. But in the locker room, and he was a good sport about it. I mean, him and X had a good relationship, and X looked up to Nick. I mean, he was older than Xavier and showing him the ropes when he came in as a freshman. So it had to have been tough, I'm sure, but he handled it. He handled it well, and it wasn't a distraction for us. We kept moving forward, and we kept winning ball games, and if we were winning, everyone's happy, and that was the best part.
So Elite Eight game against Duke. Just tell me what that was like. I mean, coming down to the end, I assume that was a play drawn up in the huddle and maybe something that you guys had run. Was there a name for that exact set that you ran that sprung Kenny Goins free? Do you recall?
Horns. It was horns twist, but it was a different variation of it. So Cassius was actually gonna set the screen for Kenny and then set a screen for Xavier coming back around. So he's gonna set like a double screen.
Okay.
Kind of run in a circle, set a screen for X. X we were gonna try and throw a lob, but Kenny was wide open. We had ran horns twist a couple times. Set the screen for Kenny initially, got blocked, which I love seeing.
I remember that. Yeah,
I love seeing
it was like a play or two before that.
It's pretty crazy to look back on it. Yeah, it makes it so much like cooler.
Yeah,
I look at it and you watch the shot go in, and then you're like, damn, like Zion blocked that like 2 minutes ago, and he was this close to doing it again, but it just worked. It was like poetic. Like it was like.
What was it like to see Zion live? I mean, was it just like sitting on the court, just watching a man of his bulk be able to just leap into the air? Like I compare it to like a great white shark, where you're just like a shark should not be able to do that.
Yeah. You see him on TV, and then you see him in person, and it's like two different human beings. It's like this man was thick. Like we were watching him play. God, now I'm forgetting who they played right before us, but it was a good game. It was Virginia. No, it was Virginia Tech or Virginia, I believe, right? I don't know, but they were playing someone. It was a good game, and it was a Sweet 16. And we're watching it after our game. We're hyped. We're like, let's go. We're into the Elite Eight. We're gonna win, and we go out and watch this. We go out and watch this first half, I think, and it's the first time I see Zion live. And outside of actually the first Champions Classic, we passed him in the hallway after we had lost to Kansas, and I was like, okay, big boy, but it was really quick. Yeah. So now I'm watching him play, and this dude's body is just massive, like just a tree trunk, and then he's jumping, and you're like, how is that even possible? And
I think there's laws of physics that would prevent that kind of jumping like that.
I don't understand. I still don't. And another funny story is we're in the national anthem, and for some reason, sportsmanship, I guess we go out and shake hands in center court before the game after the national anthem, and we go say good luck to everybody. And of course Zion's right across from me, and I'm just like looking at Jack Hoiberg, who's right by my side, and we were both just like, we were walking back and we were like, damn, like this
big dude.
This dude is
big. Kind of ate his lunch that game. I mean, he locked him up. He was one of the most inefficient games he had the whole season. I mean, I think that to me, that game was when I'm like, Tillman has a future NBA career ahead of him. Whenever he decides to go, that was the game where I was just like, he really made life extremely difficult for one of the most efficient players that college basketball has ever seen, one of the most freak athletes that we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. That was our guy. He could lock up anyone. He was such a good defender, and, he did our job. We scouted him so well, and we were so ready to play. And we did get shafted, I think, again in the committee, in the tournaments, in the selection Sunday, and we noticed it. But at the beginning of the year, you might have caught us saying, like, damn, it was funny because we're like, whoever meets up with Duke, they look really good right now. and we see them 2 months later, and they're in our side, and we're like, all right. And then like after, the first, it was before we started playing UCLA, we were like, we beat UCLA we're going to the Final Four. That was honestly like
the thought process.
That was the thought process. We were like, beat UCLA, we're going to the Final Four. Doesn't matter. We had the coaches saying that. We had everyone saying that. We really believed it at that point that we were going to beat them. And it felt a little up in the air at times because it was such a good game. I mean, that was the most fun experience I've ever had. I mean, watching that whole game, bucket for bucket, trading buckets, down by 10 or whatever, coming back before half, like making a run, and we're like, let's go. Like, it's time. We're about to beat these dudes. We got 20 minutes, and we're locking in. We're locking, we're playing Zion tough, and you know what? If he wants to shoot a three and cost him a game, he can do that. And you know what? If RJ wants to shoot a three, he can do that. He's more dangerous driving to the bucket anyways. Let him shoot. So that's what
Aaron Henry did a nice job too. We haven't really talked about him this season, but Langford goes down and Henry kind of just comes in and, rated like 140th or something on the recruiting rankings, kind of almost an afterthought. And Gary Harris pokes Izzo and says, hey, coach, this is, you gotta get this kid. I thought he had a really big just series in general, just the whole tournament run. He kind of quietly did his thing. And, after the team was so well put together. I think, to a certain degree, ran out a little steam against the Texas Tech situation. Cash to me looked like he was playing on basically one leg. Cueto was cramping up the whole game. Was it just the Ironman minutes? Because a lot of those guys were playing 30 plus, 32, 33. I think Kenny was in the same boat too. It was just one of those circumstances where the team wasn't particularly deep. And do you think that you guys just kind of ran out of steam against a really good Texas Tech team, maybe one of the best defenses we've seen in like the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, they were as good as advertised. We might not have, we thought we were going to win. I mean, we did. We were confident, just like the whole tournament. We did probably, I'd say we ran out of a little bit of gas, and Aaron Henry came in, and after, Izzo ignited him in the first round, and that was
the Bradley game.
Yeah, I guess that that's good, but when he does it any other time, it's all hell breaks loose. But like it was good. I mean, Aaron had such a good run, and that was our team. We had a bunch of guys that did their role, and we let X come set screens, roll, get his buckets if he was open. If no one was open, Cash, do your thing. I mean, you're shifty and no one can stay in front of you. I don't know how. This change of pace is ridiculous. Right. And he's so smart, and it's the change of pace.
It's the control.
Yeah, it's the control, and he never looks like he's panicking ever. I didn't see him panic one time, and we had confidence in Cash to knock down a shot, make a play for somebody else. Knock down shooters. Aaron Henry can drive every now and then, but everyone's crashing the glass and doing their job. So yeah, that's Aaron played a significant role in that, and then I think that we were a little bit gassed, and Texas Tech played a really good game.
Yeah. If you had one word to describe Cash and just his game, what would it be?
Cool. I mean, swag. He just plays with so much confidence, cool swag. Like any of those three, that's the perfect way to describe him. I mean, he's you just always trust him, and it looks so effortless for him. And he's just got a lot of confidence in himself, and that's how he plays. You can kind of tell that this kid, even as a freshman, like that's why Izzo and him got into it, because this man had so much confidence and so much swag that like Izzo's like, why does it look like you're never trying? Cash is like, what you mean? Like, I'm trying.
Casual Cassius, isn't that
exactly?
What
yeah. He's like, why are you not trying? We're all like, he just like made an outstanding like alley-oop pass. Like, what do you want him to do? But it was the role players and Cassius and X, and it was perfect.
So 2019-20, this to me maybe is the greatest what if. There was the foul against Draymond, the Butler game. There's been other injuries along the way. Kalen Lucas, obviously, Keith Appling's wrist injury. There's various points and times where you're like, oh, when could that second natty have happened? I'll go to my grave believing that this team had the goods. I loved everything about it. And to me, they just kind of came together at the end of this season. Cash was Cash. He went through, the tragedy that he had with his brother. And, the team just really kind of rallied around them, and it was an up and down season. But to me, it really looked like everything was coming together. Watts was finally being that kind of bucket scorer that we needed, this, a side kick next to Cash. Tillman was an absolute monster, obviously defensive player of the year. And Henry was, again, kind of that stalwart on the wing. If this COVID doesn't happen, if this season doesn't happen, does this team make another Final Four run?
Yeah. I also agree with you. I think that we were on our way, and before COVID happened, we knew it. Like, we knew it.
Was it a feeling similar to like the end of, the 2018-19, where you guys kind of had a little bit of that, like everything's coming together, like this team has the goods to maybe really go on a run? You never know, right? I mean, we felt that way about maybe 15-16, like you said.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. That's also pretty cool to say that you thought you were going to make it to a national championship 3 out of your 5. But like, it's hard. It is hard, and goes to show you how difficult it is. But I'm trusting Cash and Xavier all the time. You know what you're getting, and I think that at the end of the year, we knew what we were getting from guys, and everyone established their own role, and it wasn't up in the air. I think that we had the defense. Xavier, defensive player of the year, and defense wins, I think, especially down low. And when you have someone that can literally help on every single drive and still get back to his man and recover and do all that, like X, it's so much easier to play defense with a commander down low in the paint, telling everyone where to go and, kind of helping out, and we were honestly playing for Cash too. I mean, we're helping him out. Like, hey, you play 80% on defense. Yeah. And then we'll get you on offense. Like, we'll get you the rock on offense, let you do your thing. And it was kind of like that. It was like, we know Cassius is, a little banged up and stuff like that. And he's just, I had a lot of confidence in us going to the Final Four again.
I believe it. There was a couple moments there. I did just like a top 10, moments from Cash's tenure at Michigan State. And there was a couple just kind of under the radar. There was the moment against Iowa where he ends up playing like lights out defense, which, you wouldn't really think of him. He ends up diving on the floor. He grabs the ball. He's going crazy. And I think that we really got to see kind of the evolution of who he was as a player. He comes in as this, huge defensive liability. And I think when he left, maybe he was never going to be considered a plus defender, but to me, he was not a negative anymore. Yeah, and obviously maybe my favorite moment from the whole season was the Penn State game when Izzo's like trying to bring him over to call a timeout or whatever. I think that's what happens. They're like chirping back and forth.
Yes.
And I think he's telling him to run a play or something, and Cash just basically tells him to go fuck himself. He goes straight to the bucket. He puts one in. As soon as he scores, he runs back over to the sideline, and they're chirping at each other. I don't know if you show this. I'll have to send it to you, but I did like a voice over of what was being said in the huddle for it. It blew up. I got like 45,000 views on Twitter. I just voiced it over. And I'm so glad I didn't go away from the timeout. And they're zoomed into the timeout, and two of them are just screaming at each other. Yep. And they finally like settle down or whatever. And then Izzo says something to Cash again, and he's like gets all up, and the whole timeout's blown up. There's no play that's drawn up. And they're just pissed at each other. And the best part of it was we played awful in the first half, and we were on a 24-3 run. And I just think that that's the perfect encapsulation of what the program is. Like, never being happy of what's going on right now, always trying to reach the best. And I don't know. Do you remember that moment?
I do remember. I couldn't tell you what exactly was said. I remember, it happening, and then DJ and Iz and stuff are firing at Cash, and he's like, what you mean? And like stuff like that. And then a couple words were thrown in there, but like it was, you do need to send me that video, because I would love to relive that for a second. Yeah. And then it'll all come back to me. Like, I would love to see that again. But yes, I do remember that was hilarious.
It was great. So the season ends. I mean, you guys don't know it. You raised the Big Ten championship back to back 3 years in a row. A really special season after everything that happened. What happens? The COVID news comes down right before the Big Ten tournament. How did it? How were you guys told as a group? And just tell me just a little bit about how everybody felt about that when it happened.
Oh yeah, so pretty much what happened the day that everything got shut down is Michigan's playing. I believe Michigan was warming up, and we were actually at practice getting ready to leave for Indy. It was Indy, and we're all at practice, and we've been practicing for about an hour and a half, I'd like to say, and everyone's kind of talking about how tournaments are getting shut down. And we're kind of wondering, is this gonna Big Ten's not gonna shut it down, like they canceled the fans and everything, so like we're good. And then obviously, Nebraska had a little incident.
Hoiberg was like dying on the sidelines.
Yeah. And he ended up it wasn't.
No, it wasn't COVID. It was just
wasn't COVID.
But it was just terrible. The way that it looked
bad, right?
Like, it looked like he was just like ill and like literally dying on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's funny. We're watching the game, and I'm like roommate. It's me. It was me, Kyle, and like Jack and Foster and stuff. We're watching this game, and Jack's just like, "Whoa!" Like my dad has COVID right now, and like
that must have been my God, freaky. Nobody knows what it really is.
He was so scared. So so he gets into the ambulance like during that game, and Jack's on the phone with his dad, and like he's like, I'm all right. I'm going to the hospital. Like it's just precautionary. Like I don't feel good at all. Like I feel like shit. But so Jack's all good. He's calmed down. But now we're going to practice. We see Michigan, and we're looking at the TV screens, and it says, canceled. So we were at practice actually when it hit, and Coach blows the whistle, and he's acting like he didn't see the TV, but we all saw it. And we run like 4 drills after that, and we're all like, what are we doing right now?
You ran 4 drills?
I swear to God, we continued practice for like probably 20 minutes. And then he goes, all right, guys, bring it in. And so we all brought it in. He goes, yeah, so the tournament just got canceled. And we're like, the tournament's been canceled for 20 minutes. And we're all gassed, and we're like, are you kidding me?
Oh my!
But that's actually a true story. Yeah, we kept practice going, and we all knew that it was canceled. And everyone
going through the motions. Was everyone pissed, or was it just like you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that was more of it. We were just like, what are we doing right now? And but at the same time, like it was sad, I guess, because we knew that this was
it. Like this.
We were like, we need to get back to. We need to go to the locker room. Practice is over. We don't need to be practicing right now, first of all. But at the same time, we were thinking like this could be our last practice because it seems like the world is ending at this point, and it was setting in that it might not have been only the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
But we didn't know for sure, so we weren't thinking that at all. But I mean, we were thinking it a little bit, but we didn't think that it would actually happen. That'd be the last time that we put on the practice jerseys. So then carrying on that day, we go home, and everyone's calling us, all of our friends and family. They're like, so there's no Big Ten tournament, whatever. We get a text message from David Thomas 2 hours afterwards when we're on the phone with our families and stuff. And David's like, come back to the locker room. And, this is before it got publicly announced, and we all knew. Like that was pretty crazy. Once we got the text, we all just like got off the phone with our family and people, and just kind of looked at each other, and we were like, "Damn, that's it." So we went to the Breslin, and we all sat in the meeting room where we watched film, and all the coaches are in there, all just standing up, and we're like, "This is crazy. I cannot. You better not say what I think you're about to say right now." And he was like, "Yep, it's called. NCAA tournament's over. That's our season." And seniors, like, I'm sorry, apologized, and then said thank you. And that was the shittiest moment of all time for sure. Especially with all the expectations, and just not knowing is the worst part, because we talked about how we both If you're gonna say it, David, I believe it too. We were shoo-ins, so that's kind of what I think. So
There was no team to me that was across the country that was, like just unbeatable. Like some years you have a team like the UNC year, right? 2009, where you're just like, well, that sucks. We had a really, really good team. We ran into an all NBA starting five. Like, what are you going to do? There wasn't a team like that. I thought, maybe 6 to 8 teams in the country. Every year there's somewhere between maybe 4 to 6, 4 to 8 that you think can cut down the nets.
Yeah.
And we're right there, one of them. So that's it must have been a tough pill to swallow. So did you guys, get to run together anymore? Was that it? Or did you guys like get together like secretly and like we're still going for like a run and shit? Like we're gonna play a little bit more. This can't be it.
Yeah. We that crazy now that you're looking at it, and it's a funny story, and I'm glad Iz had us run the last 4 drills because that was it. That was it. That was the last time that we suited up and together. So we'll play here and there pickup, but not with the full squad.
Yeah.
And so which
tough to get it. Everyone starts spreading out. It's tough to get everybody back together again.
That's right. People going home, it's over. So yeah.
Oh. Well, I've kept you already an hour and 20. We'll try to wrap this up the next 10 or 15 here.
Yeah.
I know people are going to be sticking around for this one because this is definitely the most interesting podcast that we've done so far. I like to believe I'm pretty good at, breaking down some of the stuff, but I think you're a lot more interesting than me. So I think people are sticking around. So just give me maybe just kind of an evolution of how your role personally evolved during the course of the season. You come in and you're kind of learning the ropes early. Tell me about the scout team. Tell me about, getting tapped to be a scholarship player and what that was, what an honor it was to be able to, claim that, you worked your way to that. Just give me kind of a overview of basically how your journey with Michigan State.
Yeah. So I started out freshman year, learned the ropes, everything. Sophomore year was, I started playing pretty well. Like on scout team, I put on a lot of, weight, muscle, and I've been in the weight room. That's kind of what my focus was freshman year. Just get stronger. I was 170 pounds, got to 200. Was that a good playing? I didn't mean to
interrupt you there, but that's always interesting to me because I would make the argument that Michigan State's weight room program, the strength and conditioning program, is top 10 in the country. I think that what they do in terms of transformation, whether it's adding muscle or slimming people down, who do you credit that particularly to? Who's the guy that's running that, and what's that like for the program?
Yeah, right now it's Marshall Rep, and he's got us on a pretty good schedule and routine. We're waking up early, getting our lifts in, and getting our conditioning in. And if you want to go extra, he's going to be pushing you. If you need to do extra, you're going to do extra. And we also have nutritionists. We got a nice fueling station upstairs. Like we're always getting fed, and we're putting the right things in our bodies as well as taking care of our bodies after practice and getting the right stuff in our system. So I think that plays a big role. And then, our strength program is one of the top in the country for sure. And Marshall Rep does a great job, and that's who it is now. But
yeah.
So
sophomore year, you're like 200 pounds.
200 pounds, started playing well, shooting it well. And then ended up getting the scholarship. And that was kind of a testament of what I've done and where I was trying to go. Honestly, I wasn't trying to be, the walk on that everyone's, excited for at the end of the game. And it's fun, but at times, but at the end of the day, you're there for more, at least for me, I was there for more than just to play at the end of the games. That's what I wanted to do. That's why I went there. I wanted.
You could have gone somewhere and started and played your whole career somewhere. So it's got to be tough for you to always be on the bench when
sitting. I wasn't used to that. And it was a different role, and I was, I understood it.
Yes.
I understood it, but I wasn't going to settle for that. I was going to push myself every day to try and get on the court. And junior year, Miles gets hurt in the PK 80, and that was one of the coolest things for me at the time. The DePaul game.
I was there.
That was
baby. I made the trip.
There we go.
I'm a fiend for the college dude, but I made a whole website for it, so I went. That was honestly one of the coolest things ever because you could drink in the arena, which you can't do anywhere. Actually, I went to the Ohio State game a couple years back, and you could drink there. I'm like, why doesn't every stadium have this? This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Takes all the anxiety out of the game. I'm sitting there like eating through my fingers most games. So that was nice. But we bought like lower bowl tickets, and then we just moved down because nobody was really at those games, especially early on. You know, it's like Portland. They can go climb mountains and go hiking and biking and all the rest of it. There's nobody coming to watch basketball games in Portland, you know?
Exactly. Not college. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, college, exactly.
Michigan, yeah. People like so. Yeah,
18 points and what? You ended up grabbing 7 boards that game, right?
Yeah, and that was my thing. I mean, I could shoot the ball, but was I gonna play for shooting the ball? Probably not. I mean, I'm gonna probably play for. I had to be special at something. I had to be good at something.
Hustle.
And it was hustle. I was gonna hustle, and I was gonna crash every single time. And we get graded on that sort of stuff. So like,
do you really?
We know who's crashing the glass every single time, and we know who's boxing out on defense every single time. And there's percentages.
The whole team knows that.
The whole team knows what every player, how many times you're cutting out on defense and how many times you're going to the offensive glass. So
is that all film room study? Because again,
after games and stuff, and it's after games, the coaches and managers, shout out managers, they work so hard on getting us those kinds of statistics, and that's graded, and that's kind of how I wanted to distinguish myself, and be that guy that's going to hustle and get the offensive rebounds because. It's pretty crazy. You don't notice it as much, but it's not as hard to get offensive rebounds as you think. Like every time I go on there, whether it be at the end of the game or actually in the game, like these people do not cut out ever, and you can see it. Like all you gotta do is just time it up, go and get it. But that's cool. That's kind of my thing. That's what I stuck with, and. If we ever needed that, I was going to run the plays the correct way. I was going to do everything right, play the right defense. Sure, I might get beat every now and then by a more athletic player, but I'm going to be in my gaps. I'm going to play the best help defense I can, whatever. So going to senior year, it was great. Wanted to play that year too, really bad. I was very close. I got off scout team. I was on second team for the last half of the year and maybe a little bit before. I forget why. I don't know if we had Josh as an injury. We had people injured throughout the year. And therefore, I was ready. I was on the scouts. I was guarding scout team. Which by the way, scout team, awesome as well. Like I grew so much. We worked so hard and study the team's plays and run their defense in practice. Like it's pretty crazy.
Who sets that up? Who's the coach or the?
That's the video coordinator. So actually the Drew Donesco was kind of that guy, and he had just left recently to go to Eastern Michigan, so he got a job there. He did it for the last 4 or 5 years, and he was outstanding. I mean, we knew these people. We would come into practice, and Deli would be studying all night, getting no sleep, drinking Red Bull, and he's like, all right, guys, and we're like, all right, what are you crashing for a final or something? Yeah, and we got 25 of the team's top 25 plays, and then we run their top 5 more often, but we know plays 6 through 25, and we know the calls, we know everything for the most part. So, that was pretty cool going through and just learning how much scout team does and how much film that we had to watch. And you have to play your player to a T. And if he's shooting the ball, if he's a lefty, I mean, if I dribble with my right hand, coaches are getting pissed. Like, what are you doing? That's not what he does. He's going left 90% of the time. I don't ever go right in practice. And I'm like, come on, give me my right hand. But it's pretty crazy. We had a pretty good scout team for my 4 or 5 years, and a lot of our success does go through preparation. I think we out-prepare teams, and scout team plays a significant role in that. And so that was a lot of fun. Ended up getting buckets on a lot of players such as Miles and Cash, and Cash fouls in practice anyway. So if you don't score, you're going to the free throw line. He's just trying to get a stop. He's trying to get a stop and tell coach that we missed. And he's hitting your arm without the coaches seeing it. And he's like, we got to stop. All right, let's go. And then,
God. Just get back on offense.
Exactly. And
do they keep any of that? Because I know they film the practices. So do you got like a highlight reel of all your buckets and all these guys, like somewhere stored in the vault?
I could do that. I could ask them to do that, and they'd do it. I guarantee you, I could get a film and like.
You should do it.
I should do it.
Maybe not for now, but like when you're like, when you're like 50, 60 and you got kids or grandkids or whatever, you can pull that out, pull out the old tape.
Like, I should ask him to do that. I mean, it's all there.
Like you see the highlight film for this guy. Here's me giving him buckets.
That dude's in the league right now, man. I should be in the league. Shit.
Buckets on a daily basis.
Yeah. So, anyway, I mean, shoot, my 5th year, off scout team for a while, and wanted to play. Was very close. I felt, and had a lot of meetings and sit downs with the coaches and watching film with the coaches before games. Just in case something happens, and unfortunate that it just never worked out. And I totally understood. It sucks, but I don't regret anything. And I wish I
have any consideration maybe for going to play somewhere your last year and just saying like I want to go play. I just miss starting and playing all that, or was it just like you were so ingrained at a certain point where
I loved it too much. I loved it way too much, and like we're not gonna get the experience. Like I just wouldn't be able to go somewhere and
just imagine what the locker room would have been like.
Exactly. Like I didn't want to do that for my last year. I just wanted to stay there and give it my all. Honestly, I'm glad I didn't, because I was so damn close to getting there. So like, it sucks that I didn't. It was in the thought process. I mean, that's why I graduated in 3 years, just so I didn't have to sit out in case, because I burned my red shirt my first year. So I wasn't going to be able to. If I wanted to transfer and not sit out, I had to graduate in 3 years. So that's what I did. And I considered it, but couldn't do it once I'd been there for 3 years and just didn't want to.
At the top of the mountain, it's pretty hard to go somewhere else and try to figure it out.
100%, yeah. So that was kind of it, man. I got no regrets.
Yeah, I didn't either. I could have gone somewhere smaller and played too, like LB and Elma, some of that.
Okay, yeah.
I just ended up going to Michigan State and playing pickup, IM East, IM West, all the rest of it, and I enjoyed mine. I don't regret a single moment of it.
Right.
You can't.
It's the best way to live.
100%. Yep. So, you played in so many cool events. Like we talked about the PK80, the Champions Classic. You kind of did a little bit of everything. You went to Maui one year too, right? You were part of that team. Yep. What was the coolest event that you played in? Vegas too. You did Vegas.
Coolest event. Yeah, we did Vegas. Vegas was cool. I would say either Maui or the aircraft carrier. Sophomore year, that was Miles and Cassius's freshman year. That was pretty cool, and we got to do a lot of cool things there and see a lot of cool things. We went in a submarine.
No way.
We were in a submarine. They set everything up so nice, and then in Maui, they set everything up so nice there too, and it was a lot of fun.
Maui, you're just in paradise, so it's hard to like on the beach. You're like, this is great.
It was cool for the first week, and then we lost the first game, and then it was like,
I remember.
Good luck finding the ocean the rest of this trip. Good luck. We're done. We were like, shit.
Oh my God, that's true. I forgot about that. Who did you guys lose to that first game? Was it Virginia Tech?
Virginia Tech, yeah.
Oh, and then you beat UCLA, or was it Georgia next?
Yeah, UCLA.
You beat UCLA, and then
Anthony Edwards
gave you guys like 40.
Still won that game.
Somebody's gonna play some defense on him. Oh my God.
Yeah, that kid was hitting some tough shots, man.
Yeah, he was hitting some crazy shots. And then we saw what he did this year in the NBA. Yeah. You're like, okay, all right. He gave us some buckets. He gave the whole league some buckets. So I think we're going to be all right.
Yep. Yeah.
Favorite arena you got a chance to play in, both non-conference and the Big Ten? Can't be the Breslin Center.
Yeah. That's Nebraska. Nebraska and Indiana. Nebraska's got the nicest facility.
Really?
I think it is the most NBA-like-esque facility. Very, very nice, very clean. I know their locker rooms are ridiculous too. Just from Jack seeing that, and their away locker rooms are nice, and that is a very high upper level stadium. I think that Indiana and the Big Ten, Purdue, Mackey is probably the toughest place to play in the Big Ten. Indiana's cool, but I got to go with Nebraska. Nebraska's got the nicest. Mackey is the toughest, no doubt. And then Duke, out of conference, Duke was so pretty cool.
It sucks that you didn't get to see it with the crazies in it, but
no, we did. I did. That was Miles and Cassius' freshman year. We played them at Duke, and it was nuts.
Oh my gosh, I forgot.
Yeah, we lost. Yeah, we ended up losing. That was Luke Kennard, and all them. Yeah,
oh my gosh,
kind of weird. We played Duke like 3 to 4 times.
A million times. You played them like almost every year in the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So nice that we're finally turning the corner and beating them a couple times, though.
That's right.
Best non-MSU Big Ten player you played during your career.
So I'm gonna go with because Joel Berry, and I do it to hype myself up because I was in a pick and roll with him and Luke May in the PK 80. Yeah. So I just like to say Joel Berry because I had to guard him. So I'm like, that dude was so good, and he never got a bucket on me.
You guys,
he had an outstanding
game to I think the worst field goal percentage in like program history. It was like 29% or something from the like.
What'd you say?
You guys absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah.
And the PK 80, I was there. I was like, this is just disgusting. You guys blew them out. That was nice to see too. Anytime you beat a blue blood that badly, love to see it. Love to see it. All right, now we're talking about teammates here. Best all-around scorer you played with at MSU.
Yeah, that's got to be Josh Langford. I mean, that guy is when he was healthy coming in, that dude was like Michael and Kobe. Like that was his game. Like he was the best scorer, and could get a bucket. Nick Ward was up there too, but I mean, Nick Ward was a bucket down in the
not
post.
Cash, not Valentine. You'd say those guys best. Just go get me a bucket.
Yep. I think so. I would probably trust Cash more. But I think that in terms of scoring,
like when a guy's hot, like if a guy's hot, you'd be like, give it to him.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Best athlete.
Miles.
Yeah, that was pretty easy one. How about sneakiest athlete? I just put that one in there.
Okay, that's a good question.
Athletic, but then all of a sudden you're like,
who would you think? Who would you think? You're never gonna guess. I mean, obviously, because he's so sneaky, you're never gonna guess.
I don't know. I'd have to really go back and look at.
Yeah, you would. You're never gonna get it. I'm just gonna Matt Van Dyke.
Really?
Oh my God,
Van Dyke.
This guy was an athlete. Still is to this day. But that man jumped. That man would jump higher than anybody. He probably. Yeah, he was good. He was sneaky athletic.
Way. He's he's a farm guy, right? He's
very strong, very strong. Like could dunk, like windmill. Like he was doing all these types of dunks, and like something that no one would have thought. And then
if you grab the film from practices, please get like a snippet of that for me. So
he's blocking on kids. He's dunking on kids on scout. Yeah, for sure.
They did like a Spartan all access in like. His family are farmers or whatever. He was like going back on the weekends to help out farming like during the season. I'm like, this kid's incredible. That's unbelievable.
At Van Dyke.
All right. I like that answer. Best defender that you played with.
That's Xavier. And I mean, probably Xavier in the terms of smarts, being where you need to be, making the right plays. That's him.
Okay. Xavier. Who was the other guy? Because you paused there. Who else were you thinking?
I was gonna just say Jaren because he creates so many problems. People, he alters so many shots. If he doesn't block it, he's altering their shot and they're not making it. So it's tough.
I mean, you went with the technical player. That makes sense. They both won Defensive Player of the Year, so can't really go wrong there. Top 3 funniest teammates. I need them in ranked order, 3 to 1.
See, that's so tough. I have so many like my best friends are so if I'm going in the locker room,
locker room.
I'm going Bryn Forbes at 1.
Bryn Forbes is the funniest guy.
This man was ruthless.
He looks so quiet to me.
He is. That's why when he would say something like, this man was hilarious. And
do you have any moments?
It was good humor. It was good humor.
The whole group or made a joke on Izzo or something.
Yep, make a joke and he would go after people. Like he would be like calling people, like names or like, like just saying some stuff, trying to get under people's skin is just hilarious to watch. I'd go Alvin Ellis, number 2.
I liked Alvin. Always throwing the bow.
That's right. 3. That man was a character in the locker room as well. And then I would say probably Zell was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Zell 3, Gavin 4, and then Marcus Bingham 5. And Marcus
Bingham's got some jokes, huh?
Marcus Bingham's got jokes, but he is more just like, you're like, did you really just say what you just – like everyone's looking at each other like, this man right now. Marcus, what are you talking about? But that's it. I gave you 5.
All right, that's fair. Funniest moment at practice when Coach Izzo lost it.
He's gotten mad so many times in practice. It doesn't even phase you anymore. Like, you're just like, all right, here we go again. But sometimes he says some stuff. He says some stuff like on accident, like fumbles his like words or something, just says something that doesn't make sense. I wish I had an example for you right now.
Yeah. Is there anything that somebody did at practice once and he just like lost it and then the team like couldn't help but just like bust out laughing?
Oh yeah. I mean, like there was one, I'll give you an example. Freshman year, I guess, we're doing a shooting drill, and he's kicking people out of the drill because we can't make shots. He kicks Aaron Harris out of the drill, and Aaron is now debating with him how many shots. Like we legitimately like stopped practice, went up, like it got to a point where he's like, "You're missing He's like, "Coach, I didn't miss more than 2 shots this whole time, and we're taking a bunch of shots." He's like, "I watched you this whole. You can't make a shot." Like shit like that. And Aaron's like, I did not miss over 2 shots or whatever. So they were arguing for 20 minutes. We're just sitting there at practice.
They were just going at it the whole time.
And everyone's in the background like, I wonder if E is lying right now. We're like, I wonder if this man made – like we all wanted to know. So we went upstairs and watched the film on it.
Was he hitting shots or not?
He missed like 3 to 4 shots. And Coach is like, you son of it was
God,
priceless. We stopped practice to watch film after like a little shooting drill that meant really
just
nothing.
Blew up the whole practice.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a tough one. Putting together a starting 5 with the guys you played with. Who's your 5?
Okay, so here's what we got. We discussed this earlier. We have a technical team, most athletic team.
No, you can't split it.
I know. I'm not splitting it. That's my
6. Okay, that's where you're thinking.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, you need a mix of both.
Yeah,
you need a mix of both. You got to mix the athletes in with the role players.
So I think I'm gonna slide. I think I'm gonna slide Zell out of this, and it's the most painful decision because I'm going with my boy Cash. I trust Zell 100%, but like. I'm going Cash.
You spent more time with him, so it's tough.
Spent more time with him, and I've seen him longer, and I just trust
this debate has been had many a time on like top 6, all time for how would you form the team, and I would choose Cash as my point guard too. What you're losing defensively to me, you're more than making up for the rest of it. Yeah.
So for the 2 spot, I think I'm gonna roll with Bryn. That's my snipe shooter that can space the floor, and he's not going to, he's not going to call for the ball or take too many, crazy shots. He's going to do his job, and he's going to stand, shoot, knock down every shot that he gets. So that's my 2 guard, no doubt about it. And then I'm probably going to go. I think I'm going to go Josh at the 3. Healthy JL, of course. We got to do that. That we can't. Guy was way too good, and not recognized, unfortunately, well enough because that man. I mean, he was his first 2 years, but we forget. I mean, people got to understand this guy was a torch, and I think he's our 3, and then I'm going with Miles at the 4 and Jaren at the 5.
All right, that's pretty solid. That's a good mix.
Yeah, try and beat that. I mean.
I mean, everybody can shoot it on the floor, right? At some point in time, everybody shot above 36, 37% from threes.
Oh yeah. The real question is top 6, and I'm putting Connor George on the bench, getting that team hype
He's
as
coming
hell.
off the bench, giving buckets.
Let's go!
Let's go. There was a no doubt there. So you spent 5 summers in the program. What's the off season like? Because we're kind of entering it now for some of these kids. I'm love this class. I think this is one of my favorite classes that he's brought in. To me, Max Christie is a perfect fit in some of what was missing last year. Just a guy that can knock down some shots because this team really struggled from deep last season. Jaden Akins, I think, really grew up at Sunrise this year. I watched a ton of film on him in high school. And this year he really took steps forward. He had to play off the ball because he's playing next to Kennedy Chandler, who's going down to Tennessee. He really took a step defensively. What I've heard, reaching out to some guys around the program is that he's been locked down the first week of practice. They think he's going to be like a very, very high level defender. And then Pierre Brooks kind of gives you a little bit of that shot creation as well. Interesting to see what they do long-term with him. Is he, small forward? Is he an undersized power forward that maybe creates some mismatches? A couple guys that you can kind of move around in a few different places. What is it? What are they heading into? Like, what's this offseason going to be like for them in terms of, getting their feet under them, the weight room program? Like, what's this first summer just kind of like, and what's generally the offseason like for the program?
So, I mean, offseason for the program is pretty much everyone that's been through it knows what they're getting into. And I would say that, it's tough. It's grueling. You're in the dorms, you're in your apartment all summer, for the most part, outside of a month, and you're lifting every day, and you're practicing. You got hours. You got a set amount of hours that you can practice. Yeah. And so you're doing that, but it's more for the freshmen. We're trying to get the freshmen caught up as soon as possible. So we're going back to basics, and we're learning. We're starting from the first step. We're going over screens. We're going over different ways to defend screens, and we're just getting the freshmen caught up to
so for you, it's like a refresher course. It's like start back from the fundamentals and build back every off season.
Exactly. So it starts the same way. It starts the same way every year. And it's a good opportunity to see who your leaders are going to be, as well, who's going to coach the rookies up. And it's a good spot, and everyone's lifting, doing all this. It's a good regimen, and I think that the offseason is where
skill work being done. Is a lot of shots getting up, a lot of big man group work, all the rest of it.
Yep. You have practices. You have hour practices, and then every single day you're coming in individually, with our GAs or whoever it may be. You're getting shots up every single day, and I mean you don't have to, but it kind of. You have to. I mean, you're getting shots up. If you're not,
somebody's taking your job.
You're gonna have a long year.
Yeah,
it's gonna be tough if you're not getting your shots up and you're not working. And coach's office is right upstairs, so he knows who's working out and he knows who's not, and you can bite yourself in the ass if you're not. So you better get in that gym.
So heading into this year, I mean, how much did you get to watch? Do you watch every game of the program? Obviously, you're a working man now. Sometimes it's tough with the hours. Are you still addicted to it? Are you watching every game? Do you watch them twice through? Do you go back and watch film? Because I'm a sicko. I watched that whole season 2 times through, and some games 3. And I should win a medal. I joked around with my friends that having to watch that and break that down, what a brutal season that was, I deserve some type of commendation for it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope the people appreciate it on Twitter.
Yep.
Did you get a chance to watch most of that season?
Yeah, I did. I watched a majority of it, and I still had a lot of friends that were on the team, and would talk to them after games and just see how everything's going. How's coach? How are you guys feeling? How you guys doing? You guys need anything? I mean, what do we got to do? And talking about game plans and stuff like that. So I was in it this year, and I watched a majority of them. I don't think I missed more than 2 to 3 games. They played a few early games, but outside of that, I watched them all, talked to the boys, talked to a couple coaches every now and then. But now I'm going to be more in the loop because I got my boy Cueto back in the coaching thing. So
I'm so glad they brought him back. I think it's going to help Max Christie. I think it's going to help some of the guys that are shooters.
Yep.
Gabe Brown, I think, could learn that little side saddle move that McQuato perfected over the year.
Yeah.
Maybe just talk a little bit about who you think is a potential breakout candidate that's been on the roster, that's returning. Who's the guy that you think can maybe spring Michigan State up another level to return back to Big Ten contention? Who's the guy that you're looking at to maybe kind of help with that?
Yeah. I'm going to say I'm interested to see what Marcus Bingham is going to do, and that's mainly because I think that he is very good and
so much talent there.
Much talent, and I think that he kind of figured it out towards the end of the year, and I think that if he's not on it gets in his head sometimes when he knows he's on a leash, and he was on a leash for a little while.
Why? Can I ask you that? Because I wrote an article and I tried to encompass the back and forth that I've seen over the years, and I think to a certain degree, Marcus hasn't given 100%. I think that's clear because if he did, he would physically be much further along, in my opinion. So some of that is on him. But then some of it, to me, last year is on the staff not realizing, like, you wanted him defensive rebound and anchor the paint, and he's doing that for you. Why isn't he playing more? Why is he playing so erratically?
Yeah, so the problem was at times, he would shoot some threes and he wasn't making a lot of them. So we got to be smart. We got to take the shots at the right times. And we weren't necessarily taking the right shots at the right times. And for that reason, you don't want to tell someone over and over again, it's like, what, are you going to listen to me ever? Are you ever going to listen to me? Or are you just going to, pretty much give me the finger every time you shoot a three and in a terrible situation? And I think that's what it was ultimately. And he's going to develop, and he's going to be a great player next year for us. And I can tell it. And just like we were talking about with Jaren, altering shots. I mean, this man defensively is
a freak.
He is, and he
reminds me like a spider in its web, like the ability to just alter the length. Some of the steals that he had, where he just, a guy's trying to lob it into the post, and he just reaches out his arm and snags it. He got his hand on so many different balls, and like you said, like basically held down the paint where somebody comes in, and even if he doesn't block the shot, sometimes he'll deter somebody from taking it just with his length. So
right. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to Margie stepping up, and then obviously we do have some freshmen coming in, and I'm interested to see how I've played with a lot of them in open gyms, and I think they're going to be pretty good. So I'm excited to see them go. Yeah,
you've gotten a chance to play with a couple of the kids coming in.
Yeah, when they were really young. I mean, when they were like sophomores and juniors, and then Max came up my junior year, but he's going to be I like that. I like Max's game, and
he's drawn some comparisons to Gary Harris.
Yep.
Did you see some of that in his game from when he was running? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I like him a lot. It's a pure shot. Plays hard. Plays defense.
The purest shot that we've seen since Bryn Forbes for me.
I couldn't agree more. I'm looking forward to it, and I don't want to put too much pressure on him.
No, but the pressure is going to be there regardless. So
you're right.
I mean, seems like one of the most mature people. I've listened to interviews and stuff with him. He seems completely dialed in, like 18 going on 25. So it'll be exciting. I think next year is going to be really interesting. I have my guess at maybe who will end up as a captain next year. Do you have like a feeling if there was one guy that you would say this guy is captain material, he's developing that way from what you've heard or what you've seen when you were there? Do you have anybody that you think is going to get tapped for that?
I think that's going to be Gabe Brown, based on, like the work ethic and, him always getting shots up. He leads by example, and people trust him, and he works and he listens to the coaches, and he's going to be a leader for this team this year.
That's who I have tagged, and I think Malik Hall is not far behind him in my opinion.
Yep, I agree. I couldn't agree more. They're both going to have big years for us. So
excited. Absolutely. Well, I've kept you long enough. We're almost running on 2 hours. So if there's anybody still out there I hope that you enjoy this. Thank you so much, Connor. I really appreciate the time, and the trip down memory lane has been a ton of fun. So
yeah, I appreciate you for having
me. We'll do a tailgate together.
Let's do it.
And I think we should go to a game together too.
Let's do it.
We should go to a game for sure.
I'm
all right, man. That sounds great. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.